Hi, welcome to Story Time with Gigi. Today we're going to be reading another story from Walt Disney's classic storybook. And our story today is called Mary Poppins. I love that movie. I like the illustrations too. It was morning on Cherry Tree Lane. Admiral Boom had shot off his morning cannon to give the day a proper start. Miss Lark, in the biggest house on the lane, had sent her dog Andrew out for his morning stroll. But in the nursery, at number 17 Cherry Tree Lane, Jane and Michael Banks were still in bed. Up, up, said Mary Poppins, their nanny, pulling back the blankets with a firm hand. We'll have no lounging about on a supercalifragilistic day. Supercala what, Mary Poppins? Asked Michael. Supercalifragilistic, of course. If you can't think of a word that says just what you want to say, try supercalifragilistic, and it just describes today. That got Jane and Michael up and dressed and breakfast in record time. Supercalifragilistic, sang Jane and Michael as they marched along the lane. They almost bumped into Mary Poppins when she stopped to speak to Andrew, Miss Lark's little dog. Yip, 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 said Andrew. Yes, of course, said Mary Poppins. I'll go straight away, and thank you very much. Yep, said Andrew. Then taking Jane and Michael by the hand, Mary Poppins started off the way Andrew had come. What did he say? Asked Jane. There's been a change of plans, said Mary Poppins. Come along, please, don't straggle. She led them at a brisk pace down narrow, twisting streets until she stopped at the door of a small house. Rap, rap, went the parrot's head handle of Mary Poppins' umbrella. Mary's friend Bert opened the door. How is he? Mary Poppins asked. Bert shook his head. I've never seen him as bad as this, he said, and that's the truth. Bert opened the door wide, and Mary Poppins, Jane, and Michael stepped inside. In the center of the room stood a table set for tea. Jane and Michael looked about. They could see no one there. Uncle Albert, you promised not to go floating around again, said Mary Poppins. She seemed to be speaking to the ceiling. Jane and Michael looked up. There in the air sat Mary Poppins' Uncle Albert, chuckling merrily. I know, my dear, said Uncle Albert, wiping a merry eye, but the moment I started, it's all up with me. To the children, he whispered, it's laughing that does it, you know. Jane and Michael were trying hard to be polite, but they couldn't help it. Soon they began to chuckle. By this time, Bert was rolling about, shaking with laughter. As they watched, he rose into the air and soon was bobbing about beside Uncle Albert. Michael's chuckle grew into a laugh. So did Jane's. Soon they were simply filled with laughter. Their feet left the floor and up they floated till their heads bumped the ceiling. I must say you're a sight, the lot of you, said Mary Poppins disapprovingly, her arms folded. Speaking of sight, said Bert, it reminds me of my brother. He's got a nice cushy job in a watch factory. In a watch factory, said Uncle Albert. What does he do? He stands about all day and makes faces. At that, all four of them roared so with laughter that they turned somersaults in the air. I found a horseshoe today, said Bert, holding his sides. You know what that means? I certainly do, said Uncle Albert. It means that some poor horse is walking around in his stocking feet. Now then, Jane, Michael, it is time to go, said Mary Poppins firmly from below. Oh, please stay, begged Uncle Albert. He waved at the table on the floor. I have a splendid tea waiting for us, if you could manage to get the table to... With a rattle and a bump, the table began to jerk. Then up it rose through the air, cups, cakes, teapot, and all. Oh, splendid! Thank you, my dear, said Uncle Albert. Next thing I suppose you'll be wanting me to pour, said Mary Poppins with a sigh. And up she floated, neat as you please, without so much as a smile. The others laughed and bobbed about as Mary poured the tea. I'm having such a good time, said Uncle Albert. I wish you could all stay up here with me always. We jolly well have to, Michael grinned. There's no way to get down. Well, to be honest, said Uncle Albert, there is a way. Just think of something sad and down you go. But who could think of anything sad? Time to go home, Mary Poppins' voice, crisp and firm, cut sharply through the laughter. And suddenly at that sad thought, down came Jane and Michael, Uncle Albert and Bert. Bump, 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 bump on the floor. Goodbye, said Michael. We'll be back soon. And thank you, said Jane as they stepped outside. We've had a lovely time. Uncle Albert was sobbing as he waved goodbye. It makes me so sad to see them leave. Back home, Jane and Michael tried to tell their father about their adventure, but Mary Poppins just said, "Children will be children," and whisked them away to the nursery. Michael and Jane looked at each other knowingly. Anyway, said Jane, kicking off a slipper, it was a supercalifragilistic day. And that's our story. I hope you liked it. Make sure that you like and subscribe and share with your friends. Bye until next time.